Actually, we'll lead to that because I'll look at your website and I'll start. And you go, you're squinting, Lee, aren't you? I say, yeah, I should get my eyes checked.
Okay.
I'll do that. And then we'll get started.
Yeah, trust me to have a rare and incurable disease because I don't do things by norm.
Incurable.
Yeah, no cure.
We are live. Welcome to the Best Drone Podcast. It is the best drone podcast. There's not many out there, but this is one of them. I have a very special guest today. I'm very excited to have a chat to her. We keep in touch. It's been a while, and there's a good reason for that. This lady has had a couple of babies since we chatted last. Dr. Catherine Ball, a scientific futurist, tech influencer, author, champion of diversity, drone expert, associate professor. I want to chat like you as a public speaker because you're one of the best I've seen going around. So welcome to the Best Drone Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Sorry, I'm just squinting a little bit.
You are squinting. What? Hang on a sec. When did you last get your eyes checked?
I normally, as an ex-cricketer, we do get health checks every year, and we missed this year because of COVID. So, but I've noticed a increased sort of degrading of my eyesight because whenever my boys shove things in front of my face, I pull back and I go, I can't read that. Read this for me.
How old are you now?
I'm 40 plus. I'm in that 40, you know when you tick a box and you goes 18 to 25, 25 to 34, and then they get to about 40, then they go, I stuff it, 40 plus.
Yeah.
That's last box. That's where I'm at the moment. So I've got to get my eyes checked.
Please do. I got my eyes checked because I've obviously had 2 children and pregnancies affect your eyes, right? So
does it?
Yeah. It affects all the balance of the fluid and stuff. So I remember sitting heavily pregnant in Sydney airport and looking up at the departures board, and I was like, I could not make it focus. You know, when you do that sort of left eye, right, camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2, and you just can't quite get it to focus. So I left it for a while, and then I thought, I'll go and get it because I work so much in front of a computer screen, and the lockdown has made that worse. As a person who works from home, when everybody else is in the office, it's fine. Mm-hmm. But as a person who works from home, when everyone else is working from home, it's hell because you start at like 6 a.m. and finish at like 9 o'clock at night and you're just literally on the computer screen. So I thought, a bit of fatiguing. Thought, I'll go and get my eyes checked. Haven't had it done since I was pregnant. And it turns out that I have an incredibly rare and incurable eye disease.
That's incurable though. That doesn't sound good.
It's not good,
is it not preventable, but
it's not good, but there's things that you can sort of do. So the long and the short of it was, so I went to Optico in Brisbane, which is brilliant glasses in there, love it in there. And lovely guy Michael decided to put me through the paces, and then he was like, "Your pressure's really high in your right eyeball," and I'm like, "Well, you know,
is it going to pop out or something?"
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to explode, like some kind of old Peter Jackson 1980s zombie flick or something, you know. Yeah. And he said, "No, I'm going to refer you to a specialist," and I was like,
whenever you hear specialist, it's not a good sign, is it?
Yeah. And anyway, so the specialist literally took 3 seconds, looked in my eye, and he said, "You've got ice syndrome." And I'm
ice
syndrome. Well, I have been called an ice queen in the past, you know.
Is that because you just looked at him and went, "Oh, she's ice syndrome"?
No. So what it means is, my cornea has some kind of membrane growing on it, which is then dropping off onto the iris of my eye, which then knocks the pigment off the iris of my eye into the back of my eye, which then blocks the drains, which then causes the pressure to go up. It's a combination of 3 incredibly rare diseases all happening at once. They see it. He says that he sees 2 people a year with it here in Brisbane. It normally affects women rather than men. And what eventually will happen is that this eye will go black. All of the colour will go off my eye. So I'm thinking Halloweens in a few years' time are just going to be so easy for me. I'll just be able to look at small children and make them cry.
You literally have a black eye.
I'll literally have a permanently black eye.
Okay.
And if you look at my eyes now, you'll see this one's darker
I'm looking really.
than that one.
I'm trying to look.
And there's a bit that's kind of already sort of going darker at the top there.
You know what? I think Elon Musk will be able to fix that in a couple of years' time.
We'll get I don't think I would let him.
Yeah, no. Just put some chip in your brain. He said that's fine. You know, a few wires. You know, you'll be fine.
Brains are easy. Eyes are difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, look, you know, the prognosis is, I think I've had this for like 20 years. I think people used to take the mickey out of me when I worked. And so, and if I tell you this story and anyone listening to this thinks that reminds me of me, please go and get your eyes checked. Just please go and get your eyes checked anyway, because I'd sit in front of computers and my eyes would get so tired and glary out that I'd have to sit in with my sunglasses on. So I'd be sat in the office at work with my sunglasses on in front of the computer screen, and everyone thought I was a bit crazy. But no, I actually had an incurable eye disease for the last 20 years that I didn't know I had until it got to this stage of the blockage causing the pressure to go up.
All right, so get your eyes checked. I'm going to get my eyes checked now.
Please.
Well,
get your
not
eyes
right
checked.
now, but obviously
No.
when we finish this.
Organise it, will you?
I know, it's my eyes are like that. As I said, dim lights.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to get to that point where
45 plus, you probably need reading glasses
well, I'm
or
not
computer
there
glasses.
yet. I'm a few months away
Well,
from
he said to me,
45.
yeah, well, I'm 41. So he said to me, happy birthday, and you're going to need glasses. And because of the amount of computer work you've been doing, you've probably accelerated the need for those glasses.
And in COVID as well, everyone's in lockdown. Everyone's working on screens, and
Talking
everyone's
on screens, looking
on
on
their
screens.
phones, computers.
I've gone back to being old school.
Have you? What? Like what?
I now only take audio calls unless there's a particular reason I need to see something on the screen. So I will have my Sennheisers in or my Bose headphones on, and I'll be walking around the apartment talking to people, or I'll go out and I'll be literally pushing the babies in the pram, having the meetings and having the conversations I need. Walking meetings, very fashionable.
I do that. I do the washing.
Yeah.
Like I fold if I'm having a meeting, just the stuff that you don't need to think about.
Yeah, robotic sort of movement. Walking a baby.
Walking babies.
Yeah.
Folding
Folding laundry.
I can't at the moment. I can't cook while I'm talking in a meeting. I can't chop things because I just if I chop fruit, I'll just lose fingers. So I keep it very simple. But I do that. Sweep the floor. If I'm at home, I get stuff done, the mundane stuff that you don't need to think about, and get a meeting done at the same time.
Well, we've got COVID kilos to worry about, right? I've still got 20 kilos to drop from having 2 kids. So I'm thinking if I can get out and walk for 3 or 4 hours a day instead of sitting in front of the computer for 3 or 4 hours extra, what's not to love?
I need to chat to you because looking at your background, obviously we've got a lot to chat about. I don't even know where to start, but obviously let's start with the fact that you've got 2 kids, 2 young ones.
10 months and 2.5.
Yeah, I've been in that space.
Pretty intense.
It's pretty intense.
And I didn't take maternity leave. I'm self-employed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say because you are self-employed entrepreneur. You've got, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 businesses on the run at the moment. I'm trying to keep count. You can probably keep that. You've probably had up to 12. Like how do you do it? I want to get into that motivational side of things because that's the stuff I'm interested in. I think that I juggle a few hats. I'm off doing a bit of presenting. We've got a drone business to run. I'm still doing work with cricket. How do you do it? Especially with kids. It's tough.
I don't do it on my own. I've got my amazing husband, obviously, who helps me. And I help him. We work together on a lot of projects. Like he designed my website. So I don't know if you've seen my website. He is. Look, he positions things. Now that photograph is obviously before children, that one. Where I still look happy. Look at that. And I've had sleep.
You look fresh. The eyes look...
Do you remember
the eyes,
before kids when you'd have like 3 or 4 hours sleep and you'd be like, yeah, I can party through this.
Yeah.
Like, and then after you've had kids and you've had like 3 or 4 hours sleep and you're like, I'm going to die. I'm actually going to die today. Like I'm going to drop.
Well, you're different in the sense that I see people when they have kids and I say, I'll see you in 5 years. And you very rarely see them. And if you do see them, you can tell that they're not really engaged with you because they've got kids crawling off, maybe going to get hit by a car or something at a coffee shop. And you're just like, but you're out there and you've got kids and you're working. I remember for me, like I didn't see my mates for 3 or 4 years. I say, hey, nice meeting you. I'll see you in a few years when these things settle down a bit, but you're on the go, on the run. And I love that, your work ethic as well. And how do you then diversify or change your mind when you're going from one thing to the next? Because as I said, I've got 3 or 4 things and my brain's going from one thing. Okay. And you can sort of hone in on what you need to do and then get out of that headspace, get into another headspace as well. So how do you do it?
So separation is probably one of the biggest things to do. So separation of tasks, writing of lists, prioritizing of time. You've got your organizer, your journal. Great. Okay. So the one piece of advice I would give to any entrepreneur is to have a journal. Now, I might suggest that I'm going to give you a couple of style tips here, and I'm not really a fashionista, but I'm going to give you... So my advice was, if you're wanting to start a business or you've got ideas of having a business, the first thing you do is go and get yourself a journal, Moleskine or whatever that is, and something that's really good looking, that when you see it, there's a positive reinforcement in your head. You go, oh, my ideas book, oh, my ideas journal, and you go and you get it, and get a pen that's maybe nicer than those pens.
This is from the Hilton that's snapped. This one's from Great Western.
And they'll be around longer than you and I are because they're going to be sat in landfill forever, Lee.
Exactly.
So,
biodegradable pen?
Biodegradable pens made with plant oils rather than hydrocarbon oils.
James, can we get that, please,
get all of that sort of
Drone It?
Let me know. I can organise those. I can show you where they get them from. Or just pens that are going to last a lifetime. Whatever happened to us having a decent pen? And that was our pen.
I love a good pen. Like, something you write down and go, this feels really good.
That's the pen you need to find to go along with your beautiful journal. And then when you have an idea, you write it down. And then you have another idea and you write it down. And when I first started going self-employed, I filled 3 of those journals. And how many of those ideas do you think I actually turned into businesses?
I think a lot of them. I believe that if you keep coming back and you write something down and you think that's a great idea, and then you sort of process it in your brain and you keep coming back to that idea, like constantly, that's a good sign to start it.
Yeah,
that's for me anyway. I don't know how many you started, but how many you wrote down in that book?
I used none of them because I needed them to get out of my head
Yes.
to allow the good ideas to come through. Like I needed to shake off. Well, startup is such a horrible word. Entrepreneur is almost even a horrible word.
I don't like using that either.
They put you in a place, but effectively what you're trying to do is find a business that has a business model that's going to work.
Yep.
Not going to work just to make money, going to work to fit your entire life, right? To balance out throughout your life. So I choose projects that I care about. That's how I do this. I actually genuinely wake up in the morning knowing that my day is filled with the reason why I exist. That is what I do.
Perfect.
I get out of bed. I think on my manifesto I refer to it as, or on my bio or something on my website, I refer to it as my works are a long love letter to my sons. This is my legacy to them. How I spend my days now. Okay, my first son never saw a baby sensory class in his life, hardly ever managed to get to mums and bubs or whatever, but he saw the lights on the Ginza before. He'd been to 13 countries before he was 12 months old. He had his first birthday in Kalamata in Greece, where I was there judging the X Prize Underwater Ocean Discovery X Prize, where we were looking at underwater drones mapping the ocean floor. And he had his first birthday surrounded by world-leading scientists from around the world, and he had Kalamata olives in Kalamata for his first birthday. Like, so, you know, okay, I never managed to get him to a regular baby group in Brisbane because I was never here. But I'm also not one that would be a member of a club that would have me, quite frankly.
No.
So how do I do it? Lists, journals, write things down. I have a very good EA, Kate, who is amazing, and she helps me with my calendar. And here's a trick. I'll give you another tip. I have a piece of software called Schedule Once, and I'm sure there's lots of different ones of these, but I found that if I was trying to organise a catch-up or a meeting, you spend 10 or 12 emails just organising that meeting. So what you do now is you balance your calendar, you work out when you can catch up with people, and you just give them the link so they can look at your availability, match their availability, and just grab the link. And you've turned 15 emails into one email.
I need that.
Right? So Kate as an EA is fabulous.
Yeah, I'm a big task. I write my tasks.
Are you a Virgo?
No, look at this.
What are you?
I'm a Scorpio. I don't know what that means. Look, why did you turn your nose up when I said that?
My ex-boyfriends was a Scorpio.
I'm making the Scorpio name good again. Like
Good.
I'm a big task orientator. I separate, personal, my media site presenting business, and also drone it, and also my cricket side. But I'm very good at writing lists down and ticking them off. And I have even if it's something very simple, but what I tend to do, I fall into the trap of what I like to do instead of what I need to do. So I'll look at that at the start of the day. I go, what do I need to do? And I do need to get better at actually writing this number, and that number constantly changes. So it might be, okay, this is my number one task today. I need to get this out because there's a timeline, there's a deadline. And if I was slack, I'd go, I don't really want to do it. I want to do this. This other task looks really cool. I need to design something. I need to, do this. I need to edit something. So I've got to get better at that. My ideas are at the back there, a little bit. See, that's a little bit less, a little more
that's
messy.
More like I thought how your brain operated. At
That's
the back
more
there.
me.
Well, look, have you heard of Do, Delegate, Delete?
No, I do now.
This is from my EA, Kate. She said to me once, I was totally overwhelmed. And even now I sit with a few hundred emails in my inbox, and I'm just like, do I stay up till midnight and feel ill the next day, or do I go and try and get some sleep amongst my children waking up and stuff? And I've had to start prioritizing my sleep. So she said, okay, there's 3 things you need to think about. Do, delegate, delete. And in fact, when I read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week, I didn't particularly get, here's a good book, he's great, but he's not my energy. He's very masculine, very on that side of the spectrum. I'm very much on the other side of the spectrum, very female energy. And I have trouble relating very well to very male-centric, and he is wonderful, but it's not me. I can't see myself in Tim Ferriss. I can see myself in other male business leaders, but not him particularly. I don't know why. And I read that book and I stuck with it, and he had some brilliant advice. And the best thing I took from that book was, if you can delegate it, delegate it. And I loved it when he set up one of his energy drink companies, that he just allowed everybody to have like a $500, do what you need to do as long as it's under $500. Because then it's that whole, the sound of your own wheels driving you crazy type business. You just want to be able to let that go and let people do their job and respect them to do their job.
And that's important as well, because you've got how many businesses on the go at the moment? How many?
Think about it. Okay, so we've got the World of Drones Education, World of Drones and Robotics Congress. We've got Remote Research Ranges, which is my consulting arm. We've got, I'm a patron for a couple of charities and not-for-profits. I've got a couple of books on the go. I'm now a professor at a university, an associate professor at a university.
So you're running out of fingers right now.
Yeah.
But so you've got a lot. Let's just say a lot.
A lot, but there's a key to this, is that they're a lot, but they're all in the same ecosystem.
Yeah.
So they're all connected. So when it comes down to you and I running businesses, some of it comes down to our personal brand and what we know as individuals, not just who we surround ourselves by. So I can say genuinely, in every single one of the entities that I'm attached to, I am my true self. And so when I'm working on a project, people know that they're getting me. They're not just getting somebody who I've hired to subcontract it. Like, they still have that touch of me in it.
And it's important to know that, you know, you've got so many things, but what I found very difficult with Drone It was that I knew that if it was going to grow, I had to let go of it. It's like a baby, sort of when it starts walking and you go, I want to hold on to it and I think I can do it better than anyone else. And, you know, but I needed to let go to go, you know what, I've got to get better people around me to do this job, because all of us, I hit this critical apex where things were falling through the cracks, and I built this nice business up, but it wasn't going anywhere further.
Yep.
And then it started to decline because I was getting a lot of work and a lot of people wanting to work with me, but I couldn't service those people.
Yep.
So I had to get the right structure in place, and you know, thank goodness. But that's a hard step to take,
it's really
isn't it?
Difficult.
And so you have to do that, because there's no way physically you can look after 2 kids, you can look after 10 businesses / you know, non-for-profits, sit on boards.
Yep.
Public speaking, you name it, you have to delegate and feel that you trust those people to run with it and give you, you know, constant high-level updates of what's actually happening.
Who you choose to work with is like marriages, right? Everybody, it's like a marriage, right? So I've had a couple of cracking mistakes that I've made.
Me too.
I think I've had 3. They've cost me 6 figures, you know.
Yeah.
And but I had to pull the plug at the time, because otherwise it was just going to continue draining me. And it's a shame. I've had to burn a couple of things that I'd have thought would have been big successes. And then I sit and I think, well, I could have made it a huge success. And you know what? I probably could have done, except it would have killed me. And so again, this whole idea of I wake up in the morning knowing that my day is full of the right purpose, that I'm actually spending my energy with my children, with my husband, on my businesses in a more balanced way than I would be if I just was a single woman just going hard or going home at one particular goal. And that's just not how I want to live. And you have to, you have to trust the people around you. And I have really trusted some wrong people in my time.
It is. And then when you have that bad experience and you've trusted that person and they've failed you, it's hard to then go back and go, all right, this next person, I need to trust that person. I need to forget about my past, forget about what's happened, and I need to go, I'm going to give you this. Please,
I know.
please.
And then they burn you again, and then you're like, oh crumbs. Well, 3 is the magic number for me. I've learned very much now. One of the big things I think you and I need to focus on, and I think anybody who's even vaguely successful, people will see us as a source of strength and light, and they'll come just by their nature for our high energy. And that's not actually a positive relationship. So someone once said to me, Catherine, you've got to punch on your level and up, because the problem is that if you have remora constantly, you know, tickling your belly, trying to get scraps off what you're working on, they're not your business partners. They've got no skin in the game. Have you read that book, Skin in the Game?
No.
This is a really good book that I've been
obviously
recommending.
Obviously the phrase is, I use that a lot though, yeah.
So this is the concept, right? So some of the business mistakes that I've made is I assumed that other people had the same amount of skin in the game. And it was to assume is to make an ass out of you and me, right? So I assumed wrong. And my most successful business partnership is with a group here in Brisbane who've been running for 35 years. Ashley and John Gordon, who run Carillion Conference Management, are my business partners at World of Drones and Robotics Congress. Now, they've been running events for 35 years. And our success at World of Drones and Robotics Congress is because they know the industry like the back of their hand. They are the experts. So like when I'm talking about going into, drones and dance, I'm working with Amy Hollingsworth at Expressions Dance, which is now the Australian Contemporary Dance Group, right? So I go to the best, the creme de la creme of people that know what they're doing, and you form that equal partnership with them. That is business platinum. That is where you want to go.
Yeah.
So the reason why we're in our 4th year with the conference, even though we're in a pandemic and we're holding the conference again this year, is because we have been able to turn that into a hybrid event. So we're going to be online and physical at
I was going to
time.
ask you about that, but obviously it's coming up in
November.
November
12th and 13th at the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre.
And it's in its 4th year.
4th year. We've added robotics to the mix this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, because all drones are robots, but not all robots are drones.
When you decided to start this, you know, I'm sure that a lot of cities want to host a type of congress like this, you know, and you've got the big cities as well. I'm not saying Brisbane isn't. I love Brisbane for lifestyle and everything. And I know that Queensland really want to advance, you know, and be the epicenter of drones. So how did you get started, and how does one pull this together? I know that you said that you obviously sided with best in the business. You go to the government, and you know you obviously.
Well, there's a little story behind this. How this all
please
started.
Please tell.
Would you like to know my story? So there's a wonderful man called Harvey Lister who is the representative in Australia for this massive multinational organisation that owns all of the conference centres or runs all the conference centres, and they run the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre. Now, it was after I'd got the Telstra Business Queensland Woman of the Year. 2015.
15, yep.
And gosh, it seems so long ago now. I was so full of energy back then. Oh, look there.
You have a lot of energy now for 2 kids running on no sleep. But
and
anyway,
no caffeine either, have you noticed? So Harvey and I were at a Go Queensland lunch at the Courier Mail. And he and I had sort of been talking on the edges of, you know, drones conference, you know, what big drone conferences are. Because typically conference centres will pitch in and bid for conferences. Now, have you heard of Blue Ocean Strategy versus Red Ocean Strategy? That's a really great book called Blue Ocean Strategy. So if anyone's wanting to start a business, I would recommend they read this book.
We might get these links up, a couple of these good books that you've
so
suggested.
Blue Ocean Strategies, Harvard Business School reading list is Blue Ocean Strategy. Now, the idea about it is, if you are creating a brand new thing, it's yours. You've got Blue Ocean. There's no one in there with you, right? You're swimming free. You're the only person. Red Ocean Strategy is when you're competing. So if the traditional methodology is that you're fighting with all of these other global cities and Australian cities for the interest of these organisations, you're going to have to spend money on bids, you're going to have to spend money on travel, you're going to have to spend time and effort on pitching why you're going to have to maybe lower your prices, you're going to have to do all these things because you're in a red ocean.
Yeah.
You're fighting for the scraps with everybody else, right? So I don't really go that way. I like to be Blue Ocean. I like to create new things. And so when I identified a need for us to have a business conference that was based around the drone ecosystem, not a drone expo, not an air show, not a defense conference, a business conference around the drone ecosystem. And Harvey and I were at this lunch at the Courier Mail out in the Valley. And he said, we should be creating some, brand new content because we've got the capability here in Queensland to create new things. And I'm just like, yes, we do. And not without me, Sonny Jim, basically. And so he and I were then talking, and we recognised there would, business models wise, there may be potential perceived or actual or potential conflicts of interest around South Bank Corp and BCEC and state government. So we thought, I won't go into business with BCEC. He recommended me to talk with Ashley Gordon from Carillion Conference Management, CCM, who'd been doing this for a long time, and he thought we'd get on. And of course, Ashley was one of the first people in Australia to get a Mavic when they first came out. So I remember one of our first meetings, he brings this Mavic in and puts it on the table. And I was just like, oh, that's one of the first 2. I think he got the second one, if not the first Mavic in Australia from DJI in China. So I was like, this guy likes drones. We're going to get on, and he's just incredibly wonderful and very respectful of me and respectful of women and respectful of technology and really knows his business. So that was how the Drones Congress started. So we were operating and getting going. We pitched into the Queensland government, say, look, you've got your drone strategy. I actually recommended the Premier put together a Queensland drone strategy so we could be the only place in the world to have a whole of government drone strategy. So you can go online and Google Queensland drone strategy and you can see some of the things that they had in place. So for the drone industry in the world, Queensland is the best place in the world for it, quite frankly. And so anyway, as part of that, they're supposed to do industry liaison and education and all that sort of thing. And we tick that box. So the Congress got some funding to kickstart. And I know exactly where I was. I was in Hong Kong on Nathan Street on the corner by the Louis Vuitton shop opposite the Space Museum in Hong Kong.
Were you shopping?
In Kowloon.
Were you shopping?
No,
I
wasn't shopping. No. I buy nice Australian-made vegan leather Daily Edit or whatever it's called bags. I can't remember where we'd been, but anyway, we got the email come in and it said, you've been funded. And Ashley was gobsmacked because he'd never seen a conference brand new with funding like that behind it. And so immediately then, of course, you revel for about 30 seconds and then you realise, I have to do this now.
I've got to get to work.
This has to be a success now. Otherwise, it's not just egg on my face. And that is a lot of pressure when you are working on your own and you are basically the only convener. You are going to be putting the plan together. You are going to be picking all of the speakers. You are going to be picking and pitching to all of your friends to get booths and to sponsor and to do all of this. And we pulled it off. It was a raging success and has been ever since.
And how is it going to be run this year with the world in which we live in? I'm not going to use that word anymore, starting with C. I refuse to use that word.
There are some changes that are coming in the event space that have been coming for a while. And one of the things I found, they always used to have that joke of 2020 being perfect vision. Well, I actually think of 2020 as being an accelerated vision. We've actually got a bit of time travel happening this year because everything is going faster than it should have already happened. So a lot of the emerging technologies that we work with at ANU and various other places, we were looking at the social license and the lens on some of these technologies being, 10, 15 years. We're now looking at 2-3 years before they become the norm. And the drone industry is part of that, right? So the acceleration of the social license and the acceptance of drones being flying around to deliver things. Can you imagine if we had a fully automated UTM, RTM in Australia to be able to deliver medicines, test kits, trial kits, measure people's temperature, deliver people's food, deliver people's medicines, get to old people's homes or people that are isolated and drop them food parcels and medicine parcels? Can you imagine if we'd have had that?
I had a good chat to Steve Griffin, who was a guest on our podcast, and I said, do you ever think there'll be the life in which, the Jetsons and things like that we've been, the vision has been there, and I get frustrated when I see the technology and I know it can work and it can work.
Oh,
You've been exposed to way more advanced technology than me.
Exciting stuff coming.
And yet you hit a bit of a roadblock because of regulations, which is understandable because that obviously regulations and the government isn't moving as fast as technology. But then also, what is the social norm? Are people, do they like? I was just saying, a classic example is me 6 years ago when I just started flying a drone as a hobby. When I'd fly a drone at a beach, people would come up and were just amazed and they would stare at it for minutes. Now you go to a beach and you see one, the sound, you'll look at it and no one really batters an eyelid. Do you think you'll get to the stage when that'll happen with moving people, moving goods, helping people, with regards to medical evacuation and things like that, where people go, that's a drone, that's doing something?
I think there's going to be a split, right? So there's going to be, actually maybe it's going to be a multi-model split here. So what you'll find is beaches. I don't like seeing drones at beaches. It makes me feel uncomfortable. We know that places like the Gold Coast, for example, are all areas that you should not be flying because they're the landing cycle to Coolangatta. Yet how many people launch from their balcony, go and have a quick perv on the beach and then fly back again? That, for me, should not be happening, right? So that's the bad end of it.
Yep.
But then when you look at things like Skydrive in Japan, they've got their drone cars that they're going to be flying in 2023.
That was out the other day, wasn't it?
It was on
Here
the
we
ABC
go.
News the other
Look
day.
at this.
So Skydrive is a company we've been talking to, and we're going to hopefully get them involved with this year's conference. We're not going to have any physical Japanese drones in Australia this year, but we are going to have some South Korean ones that you might be interested in.
Are they coming out? Are they
they're shipping a load of equipment and then hiring someone locally to stand on their booth. Oh. This is how important the World of Drones and Robotics Congress is for this region. We are the place where everyone comes to sort of to pitch it around. So one of the things is that footage is all well and good. Now I'd like you to try and find me the Bell Nexus, please. Bell helicopters, BELL. I pronounce Bell very weirdly. Bell Nexus. Okay, so this baby I saw in Chicago last year, and this is an 8-seater drone, and I saw this in the AUVSI. Let's hope they get some. There it is. Look at it.
What is that?
That is a flying taxi. That is Bell Helicopters have renamed themselves. They're not called Bell Helicopters anymore. They're called Bell Flight. Yeah. It's obviously Vegas, and that is on show.
That is a sexy looking. What do you call it, a drone?
It's a drone because it's unmanned. It's remotely piloted.
Look at that.
So it's a drone. That's in existence, right? So Bell Nexus is one of the uber elevate weapons of choice, for want of a better term. Would you get in that little Japanese Skydrive car?
Not so much.
It looks a bit like the E-Hang, the Chinese one that came out a few years ago that was like a flying motorcycle. But this baby, this is where it's going to be at. I have a feeling that the sort of, have you ever stood in Melbourne by the casino by the river there and seen the helicopters come in and out?
Yeah.
Imagine that these are the helicopters that they're using, that they're no longer piloted, that they're actually controlled. The key here to have any kind of flying system inside our cities is we need to have proper remote traffic management, or unmanned traffic management as they call it. So RTM or UTM. I prefer the term RTM. But unless we have that, then these are redundant because they cannot fly. What I think will happen is social license will allow us to have unmanned systems in places where it's difficult or dangerous to put humans. We've unfortunately just yesterday or the day before lost another pilot fighting fires in California. Now, if we look back at, say, the Lockheed AWACS. I don't know if you want to find unmanned helicopter firefight in California. It's a good Google search for that. So the Lockheed Martin AWACS, I think it was called, can lift 2 ton of water. So you could have unmanned helicopters fighting fires overnight as well as during the day. Now, Lee, you and I feel this frustration the same way. These technologies have been around for 10 years. Why are we still losing pilots fighting bushfires? Can we just stop for a second and just go, there have been people that have died. This is not just about, little drones buzzing around on the beach. This is about how do we make the best, and this is Industry 5.0, which if you've not heard of the 5th Industrial Revolution, that is what's coming, okay? So here's this baby picking up water. There's not a human being on this aircraft, which means if this aircraft drops, it's just an aircraft that's dropped. We lost 3 American pilots on that C-130 back in Canberra last year, New South Wales last year. Fighting the fires.
It doesn't have to happen.
Watch, it's going to put it out, look. So my question, and maybe my call to you and to other people in this industry, is that yes, we run training businesses, and yes, we run education businesses, and yes, we have conferences, and yes, we have consultancy about how businesses can look at these. Can we just throw out the old business models, please? Can we look at health and safety here? How is there a justification to operate in a way that can kill someone when there's an opportunity to operate in a way which will not kill someone? Can I just I throw my hands up in frustration, Lee, because I'm like, am I the only one that's feeling this and seeing this?
Well, I see it from a really basic level. If I go to a client and they want to see the use of it.
Oh, look, there's more than one flying at the same time, look. And that's the other thing, SIMOps, CONOPS, right? Yes. So you could actually have airspace. At night time, all of the manned aircraft will land because they don't fight fires at night.
No.
So, okay, if you said to me, look, we've got this traditional way of doing it. I'm like, okay, so what do you do at night? Try it. Just try it. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Well, I know that businesses, if they see that something is more efficient and cost effective, and also from a health and safety point of view, if I can do an asset inspection, basic asset inspection, mobile phone tower, transmission lines, reduce the capacity of getting that person there and do it via drone, more likely than not, that business case and that trial will go ahead to an ongoing work. So it happens from a basic business level. This is the next level where we need to get to, and that's a frustration, obviously, from both of ours, because we see this technology go, why isn't it getting used? We could save lives. We can do this work without people actually utilising it.
Who's making the decisions? This is why I've been trying to educate board directors, because this will get down to the point where it will be a company director, health and safety, risk management issue. I think Australian health and safety legislation has some kind of terminology in it that when you condense it down basically means if there's a known available technology to do that job and you don't use it and someone gets injured, then you are potentially up for corporate manslaughter. And if that needs to start being applied to some of these technologies. So that's what I mean by multi-level things, right? You'll have, better kids will be flying smarter little drones for Christmas, and that's fine. Then you'll have the nice posh transport drones. Then you'll have the drones that are actually saving lives and putting out fires and working in a way that we've never seen them work before, because they have to, because this is after 2020 now. This is 2021, and 2021 is going to be the year of our reckoning, right? It's the year in which we finally decide what we want to still have in our lives and how we want to still work. When we come out from what people call the great pause, or the great, I don't know what you want to call it, when we come out of this into 2021, I actually think that's going to be a harder year, because we're going to have to start reshuffling, redefining and reworking out how we want businesses to work. How do we want fires to get fought? Why aren't we working with the best of the best to stop this from happening? How is it that we actually license and we actually, what is it they do? They hire all the firefighting equipment. So no one owns it that fights the fires. It's all loaned equipment. So I'm thinking, well, why can't you just loan a few unmanned, remotely piloted pieces of equipment?
Well, I know we loaned a chopper, or the states have loaned us a chopper. I'd like to see the price on that loan, of getting a chopper out here for firefighting season.
Choppers are typically 5,000. What is it? 5,000 an hour?
Yeah.
Something like that?
I'm
Or
trying
5,000 a day? What's the rate for a helicopter these days? Do you know,
an hour, it's up there, even a basic small.
It's very expensive.
It's 500 or, 500.
There's a place for it, but there's also a place for change, right? So I'm not saying wipe it all out and just start all again with remotely piloted. What I'm saying is there's got to be niches where it makes so much sense to use that technology. And the other thing that bothers me, do you remember Cyclone Pam when it hit Vanuatu? They had a rush for all the helicopters in the Pacific. What do you think happened to their hiring rates? Went up about 3 or 4 times. To get a chopper off of PNG over to Vanuatu went up about 4 or 5 times in price. Now, I'm sorry, that's just not cricket, is it, really? And so the humanitarian aspects of Industry 5.0, or this 5th industrial revolution that's now coming, is that people and purpose are the reason why we do business. So in a better world, when that cyclone hit in Vanuatu, no one should have charged. They should have just got over there. And people say, oh, but we've got to run profitable businesses and this, that, and the other. I'm like, get some tax breaks.
Yeah.
Get some tax breaks. The government somebody has to fund it, subsidise it, do something whereby businesses can choose to do the right thing. I don't know. Keep the prices the same. Don't put them up.
Yeah. People see they're opportunists sometimes and they go, well, I know that I'm the only person here.
I'm ranting a bit today, aren't I?
No, I like it. Keep the rant. The rant is good. I love it. And this is your mantra on, drones for good. We've got this technology. Yes, let's utilize it, for some kind of good. And there's so much technology. And as I said, the world of Drone Congress will showcase that technology. And
we are going to have so many good things on display this year. We're actually creating a brand new Australian Drones and Robotics Expo. So we've actually got all of these field robotics and hand robotics and robots and social robotics.
Have you got the one from Boston?
Which Boston Dynamics, the dog?
The dog.
Yes, we're going to have a couple of the CSIRO dogs.
Are you going to have a couple of dogs?
Yeah, we're going to have a couple of dogs. We're going to have a couple of fruit picking. We're going to have one that plays cards with each other. We're going to have two robots play game with each other. We're going to have social robots and if people can't physically make it to Brisbane, you can beam in onto a social robot and drive around the expo. Every booth will have a virtual booth. There it is, Boston Dynamics. Isn't it cool?
That is so cool.
It's just wonderful.
You can try and push it over too, and it's sort of just...
No, it's come on so far from when it first started. But CSIRO have got some amazing robots, UQ has
looks like Black Mirror type of work.
QUT's got some amazing robots. UQ's got amazing robots. ANU's got amazing robots. There's just some really...
And they're going to showcase them as well?
We're going to have them all. Have them all on display. We're going to have some amazing drones on display, some cutting edge new drones on display. So people can come along and actually physically see the robots and the drones, which is new. We've not had that expo before.
What other cool drone tech have you seen recently that you can? Where do you start?
Well, do you know what? World of Drones and Robotics Congress is the best one in the world. However, my second favourite place to go is Japan Drone. So Japan Drone is on in March typically, and it was going to be on this year and they pulled it. So it will hopefully be on in next year, and if not, it may be 2022 before I get back there again. Japan Drone is just the best. They have the most amazing, because all drones are robots, but not all robots are drones, right? So if you imagine a really great robotics economy producing drones, what would that look like rather than a drone economy producing robots? And so you can see this wonderful, mixing up of how you would approach these processes. They've got great pools where they have tanks where they have things swimming in them, and there was this one where it was a rescue drone which you stood in like a little cage and it would just take you off and rescue you. I was like, that's amazing. So I could stand. It had a little dummy in it which looked a little bit scary, but and they have great long range, and some of the passenger, I mean, you've seen Skydrive there. I mean, there's been a lot of investment from Toyota into a lot of these drone companies as well. I think Toyota might own Skydrive actually. I hope I don't speak out of school there, but China has a great conference and expo, but the Japanese just have the edge on things that aren't just same, but mass manufactured, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the Japanese were always good at this. It's something that, and Queensland's second largest trading partner is Japan. And I can see after 2020, again, our relationship with Japan is going to become a lot more important for Queensland and a lot more important for our exports.
And there's a huge amount of investment, as you said, on this sort of tech. And at some stage, that R&D and these prototypes need to become commercially viable. If not, all that R&D just gets wasted. And that's when government just got to come in and say, hey guys, there is some great technology out here that can really do some good. we can reduce the capacity for humans in certain areas. Why aren't we using it? And you're right. It all comes down to traffic in the air. That's all.
Business models, and that was the reason why I created the conference, was because the conversations around business models, use cases, board duties, risk management, buy-in from top, middle and low management, understanding from CEOs and CFOs as to why a drone might be important to their business. Those conversations I just didn't see happening.
That's amazing. I would have thought that's, I suppose people aren't.
It's a bit niche. People think of it as a defence thing, or they think of it as a toy thing, or they think of it as something that's just some blokes playing within a field and it doesn't bother them. And in fact, they're actually game changers in terms of health and safety and costs.
Now, Catherine, why aren't there, this is going to be a long answer, this one, why aren't there more women in drones? I know for a fact, we run training courses. We hardly ever see females coming in doing our courses. We see, and the ones that do are probably more freelance photographers, videographers, cinematographers who use that as an upskill. That's probably where we see the most females come in, but why aren't there more?
I've mused on this for a long time.
Are we at fault? Is companies like Drone at fault where we advertise and market because it's sort of like this self-fulfilling prophecy, because we see our numbers come in and we go, okay, well, the people who are buying our courses are aged between 30 to 50 males. And as a business, we go, okay, well, we should be trying
targeting
to hit that
30 to 50 males. So that's lean startup principle, right? You go for your target market.
You got to, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if it's anyone's fault. I think DJI in China actually offered free drone lesson courses to women to try and encourage them more. But if you imagine, if you're a drone manufacturer, of course you're going to offer free lessons because you want people to buy your drones, right? So there's something on the drone manufacturers here that haven't ever really been very good at producing gender neutral drones. A lot, and you don't need to have sparkles and unicorns to attract females to drones, all right? Look, there's a couple of ways in which this is being handled incredibly well at the moment. So when I did a study, just very back of envelope, I did just a bit of very brief estimation as to how many women there were. We know in the US, I think 4% of pilot licenses are owned by people with female names or women-sounding names.
Lee, so that's
you
that's
could be
unisex.
either. My half-sister's called Lee, so you could be a male or a female, Lee.
Sometimes I am on a Saturday night.
Mate, this is 2020.
2020.
It all goes, right? There's no rules this year. And I won't judge you at all. And then I think in the UK, it was sitting around, again, less than 10%. Here in Australia, we were about 1%.
That's what I thought.
We were fewer than 1% when we first started doing various things. A few of us females, a few of us women in the industry were trying to get people more involved. So there are a few things that I started and didn't work and have tried and haven't necessarily worked so well. And you've got to, again, attack this from different levels, right? So do you go from the senior or do you go from the junior? Do you go for the girls in STEM pipelines, which have so many people working on them and so many different projects that have high results and no results? And is it just a cultural change that we need to see? I feel like there's a massive cultural change that we need to see, which companies like yourself could actually get involved with at not very big expense at all. So there's people like Girl Geek Academy that work in Melbourne who are amazing, and they actually took the She Flies trademarks off me when I sold them to them a year or so ago. So Girl Geek Academy, She Flies, they actually are looking now at aerospace, aviation and drone technology, because drones are a pathway to aviation and aerospace. So Girl Geek Academy are doing things online at the moment. They're normally going into schools and do stuff. So they're a really great one. I'm a very big fan of them, and I'm kind of their She Flies kind of representative at the moment. They do some great work, and it's all managed and measured and monitored to show that there's actually an uptick. And if you have got teenage daughters, they've actually produced some books. So you can, and teenage sons, actually the boys like these books too. So they've got the Girl Geek book series that you can get from Big W in Brisbane right now for about $16 for the book set, and it's really cool. It's these girl geeks that go and solve problems and do various things. Watch this space for Girl Geeks, because they've got some interesting work in the pipeline going on. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. We're going to see them in the big world at some point with some of their books and things, which is fantastic. So the She Flies project I'm working on them with is we're looking to try and promote role models, but role models that are pathways for girls to recognise themselves in aviation, aerospace and drone technology. And if you imagine it, so there's me, and this picture's wonderful here. So this is last year's conference. I'm heavily pregnant. Sarah there to my left, your right, the furthest right, she's the CEO of Girl Geek. Then next to me on my right, your left, there is Lisa Harvey-Smith, Professor Lisa Harvey-Smith. She is the current federal government Women in STEM ambassador. She and I went to university 23 years ago. So She and I have known each other from when we were young and innocent, drinking beer in the pub in the student union in Newcastle upon Tyne, Howie. And then Michaela Jade on the far right there is one of my favourite human beings. She runs In Digital, where she uses drones and artificial intelligence and augmented reality to produce stories of culture in our national parks and in our areas of significance in terms of culture from First Nations people in Australia. She's been to the UN with 3D printed song sticks, and oh gosh, she's just an amazing human being. That lovely woman there is April. She's a 3D printer, so she 3D prints all sorts of things.
Star Wars,
really into space.
C3PO,
awesome. So, and then the lovely Casey there. She actually started a Drone Legion virtual reality game, and I met with her when I was in Ballarat. In Victoria a few years ago. Yeah, so she's into virtual drone racing. So you don't have to actually be out and sat somewhere. You can actually just do it from home. So Casey's one to watch. She's an amazing young CEO that's on the rise as well.
This girl?
I don't know. She looks very refreshed. I don't know who that is. My husband obviously photoshopped that for me. Thank you, darling. So we are the motley crew that is the She Flies parts of the Girl Geek Academy. So one of the things that I might suggest even you might want to do is have a chat with Sarah about how we find more women and girls to get involved with the work that you do. And it could be as easy as just putting a call out and maybe targeting some of your advertising and having a women-only session.
Yeah.
Having a women-only session might sound really segregative, but let me just, before people start throwing things at the iPhone or whatever device they're using to listen to this, we know that women need safe spaces where they don't feel embarrassed, especially when they are entering into technologies and areas that are not familiar to them and even not culturally familiar to them. So I know that people will be reticent. For example, if I said to you, I'm going to take you to if you and I were at a meeting and it was all the other women around the table, you'd sort of sit there, and it's a very rare experience for men to be the only man around the table. It's not a rare experience for women to be the only woman around the table. And there's a huge cultural difference there, right? So maybe you want to offer women only session. Maybe you want to offer discounted rates for women. There's a way in which we have to open the doors because there are too many barriers against it. So people go, well, that's not fair. That's not equal rights. I'm like, well, look, the world isn't fair. The world is not equal rights. Therefore, we still actually have to put some kind of positive energy on a system to change it. It's not going to change if we just keep doing the status quo.
I think you're right. I think there's a number of training organisations that can do that. And after the new MOS gets passed, and we work at a new training sort of curriculum, I think that there's going to be probably fewer training organisations out there. But if they're all sort of banded together to help, I think you're doing it from the higher level.
I'm trying.
You're doing it from the higher level, but I think us from that next level down, reaching consumers and saying, hey, ladies.
Well, have you noticed something?
The opportunities are there, and we do it. We do it with veterans.
Yes,
we do it with veterans.
Right. So, what do you do with veterans?
We give them a discount, James. We DVO, I think it is, the veterans. So we give a good discount through the veterans organisation. James is clearing his voice.
He's clearing his voice.
He's just getting ready for his.
I think this is wonderful because a number of companies I've seen that work with veterans, they have so many skills, and it's just about giving them those extra skills to then head on off post service.
James is our CEO / producer today. So
hey, James.
We work with APOD and as well as DVA.
Yep.
So work with DVA at the moment to put one of the veterans that was interested in drones to come and start teaching some classes and do some tutoring for students. And it's a great program run by DVA. And with APOD, we give discounts to currently serving and veterans to get into drones.
So we should be doing the same with females. There you go.
If you choose, I think it would be interesting for you to test the market.
Well, test the market, and if there's a big take up, fantastic. And that's whenever we make a decision as a business like yourself, we want to make a difference. So, we're not in here for a cash grab. We want to make a difference in the industry as well. And I love your philosophy on drones for good. And there's a number of different elements you can take that, whether it be humanitarian or just industry based. The reason why we got our training license was to help individuals upskill, and if they wanted to start their own business. And the game has changed a lot since when I started 6 years ago. Sounds like an eternity, but it's not a lot.
It's dog years with the drone industry, though, isn't it?
Like it is. People go, that's nothing.
No, that's like 60 years ago, really.
Exactly. And really encouraging people to, get their license low barriers to entry, start off and see where you go. And I think especially this year, we've had a huge uptake with our training because people are going, oh my goodness, this world, the crazy world we live in, I need to do something different. I can't rely on my normal 9 to 5. And like you and me, we're not 9 to 5 people. We've tried corporate life.
We've tried it.
You probably tried it a lot longer than me. I lasted probably 3 years after my cricket career. I thought, this isn't for me.
No, I was 10 years after my PhD, but it brought me out to Australia. I have to give it that.
There you go.
Yeah, but
haven't gone back either to the motherland?
No, not yet.
No interest?
No, not really.
You're Brisbane,
No, once you become, National Businesswoman of the Year and then Queensland Businesswoman of the Year, and you sort of think, if I go back to the UK, no one's going to know who the hell I am. Not that they know who I am much anyway here. I'm triple Z list. I'm not like you, Lee. I don't have screaming fans running after me in the street.
What a stupid show. A stupid reality TV show that spiked it for a while.
Oh, did it?
Gone back
People
to
knew who you were before that anyway, though, right?
It's funny because if I do a data check on about 10 people, I reckon 2 out of 10 would remember me for cricket and 8 out of 10 for reality. 7 out of 10 for reality TV and then 1 for drones.
Well, I had no idea who you were.
Yeah.
Sorry. But that's because I was never into Australian cricket because I wasn't an Australian citizen at the time. I am now.
No,
I'm an Aussie now.
And we do share a number of things that we won't go into. You've told me not to talk about it, and I won't talk about it because when you bring out your book, what are you doing from writing?
I've got 5 books on the go. You know me.
How do you? Okay, I want 5 books.
Yeah.
There's an autobiography in there somewhere.
Yes.
There's obviously a business book.
Yes.
There's what else? There's a
data book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
a futurist book.
Because you're
and a couple of kids books.
Have you got kids book as well?
Yeah. And some short films and some documentaries. So
you're a producer as well.
I'm an executive director now.
Are you? ED.
I'm an ED.
So tell me a little bit about these short films.
Okay,
so that's interesting. I love TV, obviously.
Well, the thing is, I'm finding Australia is actually going to have a headway on the US for this because they're not really allowed to do much production at the moment, but we can.
Well, they're coming out to Australia, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons we secured the Disney movies that time, all the Pirates of the Caribbean and that lot, was because of our drone legislation. Because they use drones on set.
Yes,
that wonderful
they do.
company XM2 that's also been, they were at our first World of Drones Congress and they've even filmed on the Star Wars films, and I'll never forgive them for not having me as some kind of coffee runner for them on the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness me.
Do you want me to put the props on?
Stephen
I'll do it.
I am calling you. It demands to be on the next Star Wars film because Taika Waititi is going to be making a Star Wars movie. So I'm just line me up. I will do anything. Yes.
To be on set.
To do anything. I mean, Thor Ragnarok was awesome, right?
It was good.
Oh my gosh. I love him so much. I've got a bit of a weird crush on him.
The Shadows.
Where
we are in the shadows?
Something like that?
Yeah, that's a great.
That was hilarious.
That is so good.
I hate to say, I've got a bit of a thing for the Flight of the Conchords guy. What's his name? Yeah. I can't remember. Do you know the dark-haired one?
Yes, dark. He's been on a few films in Hollywood as well.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a thing for him.
He played Men in Black, one of the...
yes, he did. One of the bad guys.
One of the bad guys.
Yep. What's his name? I've got a thing for him. I can't even think his name.
James,
there you go.
James, help us.
I only care about what he looks like and sounds like. There we go. Was it Jermaine Clement?
Jermaine Clement. Oh. How funny.
Oh my gosh,
Flight
he is just amazing. I have got so much time for him. And Taika Waititi's awesome too. I've got this thing that if blokes are really a bit kooky and have like really clever things, my husband lets me have these little things. Sort of like, oh, he's like my celebrity husband. He's my Kiwi celebrity husband.
What was his other one? Jojo
Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit. How good is that movie?
Oh my gosh.
I love his movies.
Scarlett Johansson. I just love Scarlett Johansson.
Such a good movie.
I bought a Black Widow toy for my son the other day. He loves it.
And he plays Adolf.
He plays Adolf Hitler. I mean, who'd have thought it? A Pacific Island Kiwi playing Hitler. Who signed off and funded that?
I know. Imagine taking that script to Hollywood and go.
I need as well. What's his chops? Yeah.
Yeah, he's on a few movies.
And Rebel Wilson.
And
oh my gosh, how fabulous is Rebel Wilson looking at the moment? I mean, she's dropped so much weight. Not that weight is any. I mean, look at him.
Look at him
with his little contact lenses.
Such a good movie.
He is, and the little actor there, he's actually really cracking that child. He's a really great,
And Hunt for so many good
there's
movies.
Rebel Wilson. Oh, I love.
So he's
Rebel
coming
Wilson.
out and he's doing a Star Wars.
He's making a Star Wars film.
They're going to film it in New Zealand. I'm sure there will be.
You know what? They're finishing off the Avatar movies there. They're using drones on set there.
James Cameron's
a person who I've been trying to get to World of
Drones. Can we be on some sort
Congress?
of consulting team? Like, you know what I reckon? We can go out and we can do some what do they call it? Just going out and having a look at sets. Location.
Like that's what they do. They use drones for locations.
That's it.
Already, there was actually wonderful Neil McGregor, who now runs Glass Engine, I think it is, Productions. He was one of the location scouts for Screen Queensland, and he would take his drone out and film around.
We could do that.
We could easily do that.
Yeah.
The thing is,
you know some places in New Zealand.
I know some good
you
places.
have been there.
I do know some great places in New Zealand. Thank you.
Wink,
yes.
wink,
No.
nudge, nudge.
No.
Okay.
No. Half of my family lives there.
Yeah.
So
I know some good places in Australia, and I'm also privy to a few islands.
I was going to say, you know a bit of the Pacific, don't you?
You know, Fiji, Samoa, a few areas. I had to look when I came off the show. I had to go back and actually Google where we were because they wouldn't tell us that you get off the plane, you would put literally
and it's unfamiliar
blindfolded.
to you, so there's no landscape that you can actually
blindfolded from airport or hotel straight to location. No idea. And you started to get a gauge. Oh, that's a big bay. And I know we flew south, and you sort of get a gauge, and then you hop on Google when you get home.
That's where I was.
That was a black beach. I remember that black sand beach. Yes, nice. But you've got the books.
Look at you when you Google. You look at your book. Look at that image. Oh, you've got a new girlfriend. There we go. That's nice.
Where? Survivor.
That's your top.
Is that the top hit?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a big thing this year. Obviously, I lost my mum during the show, so I had to come home. So that was I was doing quite well. And look on the right hand side. Guess what?
What's that? Oh, Drone It. What are you doing there?
We've advertised to myself. Thank you.
There you go. That's a bit meta, mate. I mean,
shout out to Space Digital.
I'm really sorry about your mum. That's really horrible.
It was a really traumatic, and then obviously to live it through national TV as well.
That's not nice.
But they were hugely respectful for there she is. God bless her.
Elizabeth.
They were hugely respectful for the show.
I like her style. I have to say, your mum has really nice style.
Yes. And I found myself, I didn't realise she loved her black and white sort of patterns and stuff like that. And I found that when she passed, and I went through my wardrobe because we all sort of wore sort of black and white at the funeral, I found that I had some without even knowing. I said, I've got a lot of these patterns as well. So
there you go.
Yeah, so I do. I am privy to a few islands, and I'd love to sort of get out there. I really want to float, because what was happening, the most frustrating thing was when I was on the show, and obviously I like how things are made, so the production point of view, and I'm sort of always keeping an eye on the game, making sure I don't get voted out, but also going, I see what they're doing there, I see what Jonathan's talking to us, and the cameras are set there, but every time you do a walkout or a walk in, you'd have obviously the camos would put the cameras down and get the drones up, and I'm looking up going, that would be a good angle if you can go, and they're going, you shut up, you're in the show, right?
You're breaking the fourth wall here.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'd walk out, and I'd know that they would use that walkout for probably 2 or 3, maybe 2 seconds before an ad break or whatever. And they'd make us walk us 3 or 4 times. And I go,
reality TV is an oxymoron, isn't it?
I know you guys aren't going to use this. Why are we doing it? I get really shit. You're walking, we're getting wet, blah, blah, blah.
Well, do you feel that maybe you should start getting involved in some kind of production? I mean, Screen Queensland here, wonderful former CEO Tracy Vieira is now Chief Content Officer at Hoodlum Productions, and she is always up for good ideas.
I've got some good ideas.
You might want to go and pitch it to our Tracy. She's awesome.
I've got a few ideas in this little book at the back there.
Where are they written in your book?
They're in the back. They're all messy. This is the ones where I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm scratching stuff, and I write it down. I wake up in the morning and go, what is that? I don't even know what that means. How do I decode that? I need to call Catherine to decode it.
Yes, that's okay. I can help you. I can help you crack that code.
So books, what can we expect? Is there anything coming out soon, or are you finishing? You're halfway through. You're starting.
Finishing a couple of them. The She Flies one, we're going to get going. One of the kids ones, I'm going to get going. And the data one is, we've finished nearly all the interviews for that one. That's going to be aimed at the New York Times bestseller list, that baby.
What's there? Tell me about the data. Data. Do you say data or data?
I mix it up because I'm weird. I don't know what the right answer is. And so I play it until I see what anyone else says. And then I say what they say. I'm terrible like
data.
That. Because I'm Australian British, right? So I could say data or data, and it's the same in either. Because also I'm from the Midlands in England, so I could say data or data and I'd still be the same.
Your Midlands. You're lucky you haven't got a northern
glass
accent.
Or glass.
But you went to Newcastle upon that's a bit northern.
How are you? Yeah. I was a Geordie for 10 years.
All right, kid. All right, son. That's what I used to get when I was going up there playing.
Yeah.
All right, kid.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you saying to me?
Did you ever have anyone call you a Mackem? Because, there's the Geordies and the Mackems. Geordies are north of the river, Mackems are south of the river.
I struggle. I played a season in Glasgow. Oh, my goodness. Actually, where Billy, not Birmingham. Geez, he's a 12th man guy. The comedian.
Oh, Billy Connolly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where he was born.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Have you read his books?
Paisley.
Yeah, Paisley. Wow.
Oh, my goodness. I went there. I had no idea what they were saying. Just play cricket, Lee. And
Do you know what? He used to make the most brilliant travel documentaries.
How good was he? And he'd always finish off.
Can we still get these? Can we find is Billy Connolly still going?
He'd always finish his trip with a naked scene.
He would
get and he went to the snow somewhere and he just went butt naked, just running through.
Married to a New Zealander.
Really?
Pamela Stevenson.
Yes, the psychologist.
Yeah.
He's struggling a bit, isn't he? He's
not been well. He's got
Parkinson's.
Is it Parkinson's or dementia?
Yeah, but his docos were great. He used to get on these 3-wheel motorbikes.
Amazing. The big motorbike. Where are his shows? Can we find them? Who's got them? Who's licensed them?
Yeah.
Someone should have them. He's
great. I used to love. It was one of my first sort of comedians that I
bless him.
And I loved his.
He
would actually tell the story, right, and he would piss himself laughing when he tells it. That's what I love. Yeah. And he was as a kid growing up, I used to love his comedy. It was like, this guy is funny. And there's a lot of it
for the young, isn't it?
Yeah, the old man just said, yeah. But he's tours around Australia. You get on the 3-wheel motorbike, just stop. And they were different. They were different from your normal travel. I do a travel show. Yeah, they're a bit different. They're sort of, but he's were
maybe what you need to do is a drone travel show, Lee, because you've got all these locations in mind and you've got the drones. So why don't you do Lee and his drone?
And try and locate some of untouched areas with drones. There we go.
Yep.
There's my business ideas at the back.
There we
Thank you. ED, executive
I
director.
I can help with production as well. My husband can produce.
Well, tell me about the short stories as well.
So we've filmed a number of documentaries. So I'm working with a co-executive director, and we've got a couple of drone documentaries that are coming out hopefully this year. And then the short films, I'm in pre-production stage. I've got scripts, I've got locations, I've got a couple of potential directors on board.
You got actors? So, is it are they documentaries? Is it
this is science fiction, so it is actors. So I'm actually working with a couple of creatives from the dance world as well as from the acting world. So do you feel like there's acting in you? Is that something you feel
my
like
life is one big act?
I was going to say my life's one load of drama. So I mean, I'm pretty much well trained.
Well, I normally present to in front of a camera, so I actually want to talk to people and actually have that dialogue back. When the camera doesn't talk to you back, it's a very lonely place.
Fisheye is dead, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's interesting because. How did you get into that? How did you get into short? You had an idea.
I'm sick of people not understanding the science that's going on, and it's not their fault. It's because they're fed mass mediaed, 2 minutes about, let's go on diet lollipops let's, this, that and the other. It was like, no, we've got to start having the conversations in ways that people don't realise they're having the conversations around science and ethics and the future and what we want the world to be like, because mainstream media is not doing this for us.
No,
it's not doing it for us,
and that's why there's a big push for long. Podcasting is so popular now these days because there's no little sound bites that are going to taking out of a long podcast, or it will be. But if you can sit there and have a conversation about something and go into detail rather than grab a 30 or 13-second sound bite to make it sound a lot of drama or whatever.
Clickbait everywhere.
It is, and so is this from your book, or is this more of you've got a data book coming out?
Yeah, no, the short films, the science fictions are completely different. You know how you wake up and you write a load of stuff down?
Yeah.
Sometimes before I go to bed at night, I have screenplays going through my head. So I literally just start typing on my notes on my iPhone. And I wake up and I've emailed them myself. And I go into my emails and I go, oh, God, I actually wrote that. And it's like this wonderful flow of conversation or thought. And then I think I would actually enjoy that. Maybe it's just me. I like the sound of my own writing. But look, I'm no screenwriter, but I have concepts, I have ideas. And the best thing about, I know the science that underpins everything. So, if you look at Elon Musk with his pig chip, I'm like, yeah, that's something. If you look at, there's a really old, lecturing university students, it's really funny. I have to be careful what film references I use. So in my recent workshops, I actually had a 10-minute conversation with one of the mentors, one of the tutors inside the program, where we pulled out a list of 20 films that these kids should go and watch. Yep. And I'm just going to put some names of some movies in front of you here and hope to goodness that you've heard these movies.
Far away.
War Games, 1983, Matthew Broderick.
No.
War Games is about a computer that plans to fight the Russians with nuclear war. So it's just an AI, and a war fighting AI.
Right.
And these kids, so funny, these students are like, who's Matthew Broderick? I'm like,
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Well, I came up with a terrible example. I said, well, it's Sarah Jessica Parker's husband from Sex and the City. It's her husband. What else has he done? And then one of them came up with Ferris Bueller. And as soon as they said Ferris Bueller, they knew who I was talking about. And I was like, well, War Games is a really interesting
I haven't seen it. Okay.
War Games from 1983.
There
you go. You must be able to find it somewhere.
I will.
And then Minority Report.
Oh, yes. Tom Cruise.
They had not heard of Minority Report.
That's actually a really good movie.
Well, it's a futurist
The precogs? Is it the precogs?
These
They
three
come
kids
in
that can see the future.
see the
But they
future?
don't. They can see potential futures.
Potential. And they're getting,
And it's the
people
future,
are getting arrested.
future crimes.
They're getting arrested before they commit the crime.
Yeah.
Yes.
But also the things in
Great
there
movie.
around how they identify your eyes going into supermarkets
And advertise to
and
you.
they advertise to
That's
you.
not far away.
Well, we're not even using eyes. We're just using faces.
Yeah.
That's already happening. That already happens.
And
So-
listening to our voices
Listening
as
to
well,
voices,
our conversation. So,
yeah.
so guess what? I reckon I'm going to get advertised War Games to watch on Netflix, I reckon, or
Yeah.
whoever's carrying it.
Look, when we sign up to the T's and C's, do you even ever read the T's and C's on the apps that you download on your phone?
No.
You're giving permission to all of them to do these things.
Exactly.
And this is what my data book's about.
And if you say no, you can't
can't
have the app.
You can't play.
Yeah.
Well, there's some things maybe we don't want to play with.
Black Mirror?
Black Mirror, yes. So my science fiction films I'll probably call like an anti-Black Mirror. As
Okay.
in,
So are they?
they are over the edge, but they're over the edge in a positive way.
Yeah, yeah. And these are, because Black Mirror, they're
It's very uncomfortable.
very uncomfortable because we're not far away from that tech.
I'd say
or
a
we
lot
have
of it
that
already
tech,
exists.
And then you go, this is when tech goes bad.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you're taking a positive spin. So
It's
a black,
positive spin.
so not so much a black mirror, sort of like a white mirror, a gold
Yes,
mirror.
a gold mirror,
A gold
platinum mirror.
Platinum mirror.
Yeah.
Something a bit more exciting. And then when can we see
That'll be early
these?
next year.
Early next year.
Yeah.
Do you need any old 40-plus actors
Yes, actually,
playing
I
extras?
do. I
'Cause
do.
I said to you this.
And it'll all be filmed in Queensland too.
Well, I got access.
So, if you've got access to some places in Queensland where we can film some stuff.
So
Short films are great, right? There's a great, here's one for you. There's a YouTube channel called Dust. Dust, anyone? Dust. And Dust has got like 19 million 1.9 million subscribers there. Now, my friend's movie is on here. It's a movie with the Australian actress Gigi Hedgley, and it's called Hashtag. So if you put into the top Dust and then hashtag, hopefully it will get us to that movie.
There you go.
Now, there's a part of this movie that I really like. So if you're wanting to watch some sci-fi, get on board and have
these
a
are
look.
little 15-minute.
These are little 15-minute short
So
films.
yours is going to end up on here.
Probably, yeah. So it'll probably be like a 7-minute or 15 minutes. So this is all about what life is like in a futuristic society.
That's very
of social
Minority
media.
Report, that.
It is
That
rather,
social
isn't it?
media.
She's great, Gigi Hedgley. She's not aged at all since she was in Farscape. Do you remember her
Yeah.
from Farscape? She's an Australian actress. She's based in LA now. She's doing
Gigi
singing
Hedgley.
and stuff. Yeah, she's amazing.
Lee Castledine, I can see it popping up on screen.
I can see that too. Juliet Landau, she was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was Drusilla, the vampire.
And this was
Buffy.
filmed in Queensland?
No, this was all filmed in the US. It's a few
Okay,
years
yeah.
old
Yeah, yeah.
now. But there's a scene about, I don't know if we can try and zoom through it a little bit or we can just let it play. There's a scene where the drones actually print her dress and print her jewellery.
Ah.
And I really like that because, go through a little bit. Here we go. So she wakes up and then it's basically how much would you sell your soul just to be famous is what this is all
my
about.
Goodness. That's so relative at the moment, isn't it?
And it's funny because, anyway, I won't ruin the end, but you should
Yeah.
watch it. It's a good 15-minute
There
one.
we
And
go.
it asks more
Having a
questions
shower.
that it answers. And the control elements and how much you sell yourself. Yeah, she's just awesome. That dress has been printed by the drone, so we've gone past it now. So go back. So here we go. Back a bit. I just want to get to the drone scene. Back a bit. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. So there you go. Ta-da.
That's cool.
And then it prints her necklace. Now,
How good would that be waking up, just having a
yeah,
drone
and then
fly
having
around,
a
you just
drone
go,
fly
just dress me.
you really think that's far away? Like we have 3D printers now that 3D print.
See the hair extension at the
little,
end?
little blue hair extension there.
Jeez, I'd love that in the morning.
Yeah.
Just
It's just so easy, wouldn't it?
and then 3D, and give me a coffee while you're at it too.
Yeah. Something
And
like
so that's exciting. So it's going to be something like...
it's going to be
Yeah.
well produced, but
And
a
I don't
short
have
film.
to cast, do I?
No.
So I'll just go straight in. I don't have to go through the casting
you don't have to go to
process.
casting.
Yeah,
we
it's
can write
just-
one for you, Lee.
And I've always wanted to be an anonymous henchman. I said to this
Yeah.
off air. I said I want to be in a blockbuster, and maybe the Star Wars, where I just am a
Your
a stormtrooper,
that
just
lasts
get shot.
30 seconds. Yeah.
Not even that. Give me 5 seconds where I take a helmet off.
So it can see your face and then you die.
And then I just
Okay.
move on.
Okay.
And I'll just go, that's what.
Hey, look.
That's on this list. That's on the bucket list.
You could even write a short screenplay before we finish today. We could do that short screenplay right now, where you could be the bad guy that gets killed by a drone immediately,
And I've
and
got
then
it-
that's the crux of the story.
I want to get shot by a drone. It has
Yeah.
to be. And then when I die, I've got a way in which I'm going to die.
Do you remember there was that fake footage going around, and it was from a movie or from a film, and they talked about the little drones that find your face and then come and fly into your head, and everyone was sending that to me as if it was real.
Yes.
And I was like, this is not real.
Because the guy's doing a presentation. Yes. And
about that.
You know what?
But it's not real.
It was funny because James and I were up. It's not real for everyone. It's not yet.
It's not.
Yet.
Well, we say it's not real. It's totally It's totally possible, but
it's doable.
No.
Yeah.
But no.
We went up and had a very interesting 7-8 days with the defence and did some filming for them. And we got to see some of their tech, and we saw the little. The Wasp and the
little black Hornet.
Is it the Hornet? I think it's called the Hornet. Yeah, it was called the Hornet.
Pen-sized
yeah.
ones, yeah.
And there's a little back, sort of a chest pack.
Every unit has one of those now.
Yeah, so we saw
we
that.
We have them at the conference every year, and you can come and see them
fly.
fly.
And they started because with a commercial drone, you can hear him from 100 metres away. This thing was like literally 2 metres away.
Yeah.
And then he put it in his little chest pack and charged. He's got a little remote.
Yeah.
It was amazing tech. And then they had
lives, that stuff. It's saved lives.
Here we go. This is the...
There it is.
This is the Hornet, I think it is called. Try and pick up, if you can, James, that fake... video with the guy presenting. I could see you actually presenting something like that, because but
I've just had a brilliant idea for the short film. Hang on.
You're always
hang
going.
Hang on.
There's another film right there.
This is going to be the short film we're going to film. We're going to do it.
We've got a name for it yet?
Okay,
I think this is
this I'm going to email myself
weapons.
Here.
So it looks legit. And when I first saw this, I thought this is real. This is like someone presenting here, and all of a sudden, this little wasp comes up. There you go. As soon as I saw this, I thought, something's not right here in terms of...
No, it's totally fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But I
fake.
can see why the average... Yeah, when you see this sort of tech, when you just... That screen...
Well, have you seen Eye in the Sky? Eye in the Sky is a good drone film. It's got Helen Mirren in it.
Ah, yes. That was our first little motto, that Eye in the Sky. And then I thought, we've got to get rid of that tag. Because everyone uses it.
The drones that they have in there, the little bug surveillance drones, they're real.
So it was interesting seeing this compared to actually the reality. And we saw that up at the defence, and we saw some of that tech as well. So
I just emailed myself the film idea.
Yes, okay.
So let's do it. Easily done.
Easily done. Yeah, nothing. It's like I haven't got already a few things on your plate at the moment. Let's do something else.
The thing is, when you work with people that know what they're doing, it doesn't take very long to do these things. The thing that bothers me is the amount of time it takes to get things done sometimes.
Procrastination.
Oh my gosh, not even that. Just I don't know why it takes people so long to do certain things.
Do you think it's because people are scared to take action because of something might not work? Like yourself and myself, things don't. Sometimes you have an idea, it fails to execute it, but you move on, and you don't really. You take lessons out of that failure, and then you keep moving on, and then something will have something will become successful. Like for me, I lean towards yes, let's do it. Let's just sit and wait, and then you miss that opportunity. Do you see? Because the biggest thing for me is frustration on procrastination, not getting stuff done when I think it shouldn't take that long. And you're probably the same. You think, why is this taking so long?
Do you know what I think? Basis of some of this is hourly rates.
Yeah.
And you and I have both worked in the corporate world, and we know that we live and die by our billable rates.
Labour.
If you have a number of billable hours, you are a green. If you have a lower number of billable hours, you are a red. And that is how you are seen. And that is not how I like to play my life. I don't care about what someone's hourly rate is. I want to have a product at the end.
Yeah.
I want it done. I don't care about hourly rates.
Sometimes I'll say, they'll go,
I care about.
If something takes 8 hours to achieve, I'll go, can you do the same in 1 hour? I'm happy to pay the 8 hours if that's what you think. Just give me that product in 1 hour.
Yeah, and KPIs.
I'm happy to actually pay an excess for that or a premium if the job is actually done, executed correctly, properly. Sometimes I just get it done. Let's get it done, and that's probably the biggest frustration with a startup as well. We've gone sort of through that, and you're right. Don't like using that word startup, but like when you start, you need to get things done quickly.
Yeah.
You can't procrastinate on things because a week long for an idea not to be successful or not to execute, it could be the death of a business. Really, when you're learning, when you're working on lean sort of resources,
we're almost hyperactive when we're that lean, isn't it? We are. We're operating on a level of anxiety and energy that we're vibrating at frequencies only dogs can hear, isn't it?
They start barking,
and dolphins can hear. It's like the dogs start howling. It's not a Terminator. It's just us with our business ideas running around.
So, what's the rest of 2020? It's been a big year for you, obviously.
It has been a big year.
What's on the go for that? Obviously, you've got a few things on the. What's going to be executed? Obviously, you've got the conference coming up. I keep calling it Congress.
Yeah, it's the Congress. So
Congress,
Expo.
Expo.
Yeah, same. Well, Congress incorporates the conference and the expo. There we go. Ashley will kill me if I don't.
Yes. And then we've got...
but in all seriousness, if people want to come along and attend a physical conference in Brisbane, they need to get their registrations now, because we're going to have a cap on attendees because of COVID-safe restrictions and planning. And we are doing a really good job to make sure that we're going to be able to follow all of the rules. And actually, Ashley has been helping advise the Queensland State Government about their events, COVID-safe planning and things. So we are people that are literally working on the cutting edge of making sure everything is perfectly safe, but also having that having that interactive time and space inside the expo and with the presentations. But if you want to physically be there, I suggest you get your registration sooner rather than later, because we will cap out this year where we've never had to cap out before.
And I think it'll definitely cap out, because there hasn't been, apart from going to a sporting event with a crowd, there's nothing really out there at the moment. And what a way to come in and have a look at cool tech. Who doesn't love watching things and go, wow, that's pretty, and getting technology not only that Australians have made, but also from people overseas as well. So
we've got amazing. This Doosan from South Korea are shipping in their hydrogen fuel cell drones that I mentioned earlier. So we've got hydrogen fuel cell drones entering the Australian market.
Does that mean longer?
About 6 or 7 hour flight time instead of an hour.
Oh, well, for some people, 20 minutes. That's the biggest.
So if you imagine
hydrogen fuel
cells instead of batteries.
And that's going to be. Do you think that's
the way the cars are all looking? I think when I bought my latest vehicle, it's probably the last petrol car I'll ever have. It will all be batteries, hybrids, and hydrogen fuel cells.
That'll all be fought by the oil companies, won't they? They'll try and kill that off somewhere, or they might buy.
No, hydrogen's a carbon. Hydrogen's hydrocarbon.
The oil companies will try and buy that tech and then just throw it away or something.
I'd like to not be so cynical, but yes, I think that a lot of really intelligent, what we refer to as oil and gas companies, have realised they're energy companies.
Yeah.
And so we've got a lot of solar going in from some of these companies. A lot of people have invested in gas, of course, but then we've got them also looking at hydrogen. So don't mark them off yet. They're actually potentially going to be.
Are there solar drones out there?
Yes, we have. We've got the Haps, which is the high altitude pseudoscience. There we go. The high altitude pseudo satellite. Do you want to just pull up the Haps Alliance website? Haps Alliance. So Haps is a cutting edge area of drones now, and we've got a whole Haps session at the World of Drones and Robotics Congress this year, which is sponsored by Google Loon. So if you think about all of the big balloons and all of the long range solar powered what we call high altitude pseudo satellites, these babies go up to sort of 40, 50, 60,000 feet. They stay up there months on end. If we go down, you'll see some of the people that are involved with this. These are the areas, here we go. So Airbus, AT&T, you look at this and go, hang on a second, what has T-Mobile and Ericsson got to do with a drone, or what's Nokia got to do with a drone? Well, what do you think they're providing? They're providing mobile phone signal. They're providing Wi-Fi. If you wanted to be a Bond villain, they're providing Wi-Fi via a laser beam. And so the idea is we'll actually have 5G and we'll actually have internet capabilities in areas where we currently don't have any coverage. So again,
like my house.
I have better mobile phone signal on Kilimanjaro than I do sometimes in the centre of Melbourne with my Vodafone. But the premise behind all of this is it's new ways of providing communications. So Cyclone Pam hits Vanuatu again. All of the satellite towers get knocked out. So what do? You call in the Haps, and they form this, semi-permanent communications network. They can stay up. And they can stay up for months on end. Facebook were originally investing in one called Aquila. They sold that asset off, and they got into bed with Airbus, who are running the Haps trials on their Zephyr project in Western Australia as we speak.
Right. So there's Wi-Fi over in WA.
They're trialing. There's Wi-Fi in WA. Yeah, they're trialing it. Yeah.
There you go, Aquila. Look at that thing. Yeah. Look at the wingspan on that.
I know, it's a 30-metre wingspan.
And is that run off solar? Or
that's a solar.
Oh, yeah,
it's a Somerset company in the southwest of England that they bought, and it was a great idea. It had a couple of issues. The Japanese have been trying this too. JSAT, who are a great Japanese telecommunications company, they provide all of our satellite data for our weather predictions, for example, JSAT. Again, another strong relationship between Queensland and Australia with Japan. They've been trialling some of their HAPS stuff as well. And look, it's tricky. These things are experimental aircraft, and they don't always necessarily survive takeoff and landing, but they are getting there.
That wingspan there, I'm just trying to think of how that actually would take off. But
space business, you see. So drones are a pathway to aviation, which is a pathway to aerospace. And aerospace is actually aviation and drones and anything that flies, really.
Exactly.
and satellites and all that kind of stuff. So we've got our new space agency. The other thing about here is if you go down to, well, these are all their different satellites that they have here, but they also have stratospheric helium balloons flying around to the Japanese. They've got plans for stratospheric helium balloons with communications capabilities. So lower altitude satellites, effectively. High altitude non-satellites, like box satellites. So, yeah, stratospheric helium balloon.
So, yeah, in short, obviously, that drone space. You're right. It's an aviation world. There's so many things.
It's a pathway. It's a gateway. It's a way in which people will say to me, I'm never going to fly a drone for a business. Why should I learn to fly a drone? And I'll say, well, if you're working in any business at all in the world, you're going to have some kind of emerging technology that's going to come. You need to understand how to evaluate emerging technologies against your business models. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to get an experience of trialing the same thing. So if you learn to fly a drone, even if you never fly a drone for your business, you have then learned all of the ecosystem aspects of how that drone operates, how it fits in with the environment, people, law, regulations, how it fits in with education, how it fits in with business models, how it fits in with health and safety law, insurance, assurance, all these different aspects that any emerging technology that pops up in your world will be analogous to that process, that system of taking that new technology on board.
And as you said, 2021,
everything
is getting pushed forward or bringing closer to 2021 rather than 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
There's been a huge push this year to go, righto,
Life
is going to be different. How are we going to get by?
Yeah.
I think hopefully, as you said, RTM, the
remote traffic management. Singapore have almost got that down now.
I was going to say, has any countries...
Singapore's easy because it's just a city, right?
Yeah, true.
it's not like a population of how many million, but Singapore have it's a bit like a 4-dimensional map.
Yeah.
So you have all your city in your building, and you can literally see the drones, and they all know where they're all flying around it as well.
What's this?
Looks like it's drone racing.
Oh.
Pod racing, effectively, with pilots in it rather than pilots controlling it. It's not going to be long before that happens.
Yeah.
Oh goodness me! It's like the new Formula One.
These so Airspeed is set up in South Australia, I believe, and they've put a couple of their pilots are doing their REPL with us.
Excellent.
So they're manned. They're in, obviously. They're wearing helmets.
Yeah.
Wasp. I like
my
the colours.
Goodness.
Look at that. It's Tron, isn't it? Looks like Tron.
It's like Gravity. Gravity.
Oh, that's a great film.
Oh yeah, the film. There's actually a tech. It's not drone related, but pretty cool anyway. Gravity. Have you looked them up, James? We had a chat to them recently about coming out and doing some shows and stuff like that. Air Suit, I think it's called.
Did you see in Los Angeles airport today? There's apparently been a person flying around in a jetpack.
Well, this is jetpack. Look at these guys.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I have seen this.
I don't know why these guys from the UK.
They're the UK. Yeah. Was that Bournemouth or Plymouth? Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's Bournemouth Pier.
Here we go. I spoke to Richard a few times about trying to bring
it's Brighton. Look at that. Sorry, not Bournemouth. Brighton Pier.
Oh, look at that. How pretty.
The seagulls on there are nasty, by the way. If anyone ever goes to Brighton Pier, just make sure one of the children has an ice cream, so they go for theirs, not yours, basically, because they're nasty. The seagulls on there.
These guys are great. They're looking at having these jet.
But flying ambulances people have been looking at this. There was a great inventor in New Zealand that had the flying ambulance. Can we see if we can find the New Zealand flying ambulance dude? And he was selling them a lot to the Chinese and a lot of other, I think maybe Japanese as well.
So getting to
so
site
you literally
quickly.
get into a pack, you stand in it and you control it. So you're up and over the top of it. Do you remember that study that happened in Europe where they tested how many people were getting different methods of getting a defibrillator to a fake patient, and the drone got there before anyone else? So imagine you could just step into...
And why aren't we using this?
I don't know. I don't know why we're using it. This guy, anyway, he is just. I can't remember his name. Flying drone ambulance. And you literally stepped in it. That's it. Yeah, what's that? New Zealand jetpack maker floats in Australia. That guy at the top. BBC News one. Yeah. You literally step in it and then control it and fly it. And there he is. That's it.
Holy, that's a
So that's
decent
Martin
piece of tech, that.
aircraft. There we go. There we are. So that's
You're right, and that's again drones for good. We're using drones, getting out to people that
getting
you can't.
To people. And that's where I think a lot of the business models are going to be opening up and leading, is in this drones for good space, because you need a social license to operate. This isn't just about delivering pizzas. This is actually about how are we going to save lives? How are we going to make the world a better place? People say, oh, but what about drone deliveries? And what's the point? I'm like, you realise your carbon footprint of driving your car to the nearest small shop and back. The carbon footprint of a drone isn't that size. So if you're concerned about carbon footprint, having a short distance delivery of the packet of paracetamol or the milk or the bread or the coffee that you want is actually better than getting in your car and driving to a place.
And we all saw how.
There it is.
Look at that thing.
You'd get on that, wouldn't you?
Look at
the Jetsons.
the Jetsons.
Oh, Lost in Space, rather. Lost in Space. That was a great TV show. Terrible remade movie, but great TV show. There he is, Glenn Martin. Good man.
So lots of. I mean, as I said, I've just learnt about 3 or 4 different new pieces of technology that are in the market already.
Well, see, this has been around for 6 years.
Exactly.
Look. I don't know what happened to it.
Probably fine-tuned a bit. There's a prototype there.
Yeah. Clever. Anyway,
very exciting times.
There's always innovation, and that's, I suppose, one of the exciting things about being in the drone industry, isn't it? Is that there's always something new.
I think you're right, and it always seems to get tagged in something. If there's a piece of technology out there, I'm sure that you get tagged in a few things as well. Going, how cool is this?
Yeah. I normally get sent them like after I've already seen them.
Yeah,
there was only one time I ever got caught shy. Was when they were doing Pokemon Go with drones.
Okay, I'm not.
Do you remember when they did that?
No.
Oh my goodness me! There were these 2 lads on a New York rooftop, on those hoverboard things with the wheels, flying there. Oh, it was a big drone. It was
an M600 or a.
No, it was not. What's bigger than a Phantom? What's the next one up?
The Matrice?
No, down from a Matrice.
Inspire.
Yep. They were flying a DJI Inspire over the top of these city skyscrapers in New York, catching Pokemon.
That's lazy, isn't it? Isn't the whole idea?
I know, you see this one here. There's this little crap. This was sorry for swearing. There was this little rubbish one here.
Oh yeah.
The special Pokemon Go. This was fake.
Down the bottom
this
right.
was fake. The Poké Drone.
Drone.
This was so fake. But the idea was that you could use this little handheld Pokemon Go device to go and catch Pokemon that were over lakes and rivers and places where you couldn't physically get them. So this one threw me. Someone sent me this and I hadn't seen it yet, this particular video. So there you go. You've got a little mini drone, little device that goes and finds the Pokemon.
And that was a fake?
Well, I don't know that it ever really got anywhere. I think maybe it was a Kickstarter.
Yes.
Looks like a Kickstarter. But how many bad drone Kickstarters have we seen? That's a whole different podcast.
That's, you know what, you could raise a lot of money just by, because
Oh.
people throw money at drone R&D. So you get this nice produced video, a
that's
few
completely
white
wrong.
labs, guys, engineers, really. And I've seen a lot of drones going, that's pretty cool. And then you look into it, it's Kickstarter. Oh, they've exceeded their fundraising. And then I go, righto, where's that money going towards?
Yeah. It disappears down a black hole in lots of lawsuits.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
I know. There was a few. I remember Lily.
Lily was the main one, wasn't it?
Early in the days. It actually got to market, didn't it? But I think...
Yeah, no.
Lily was the one. It was a little circular drone that you could fly. You could just throw.
But they used DJI to do all the filming. They didn't
Did they?
Yeah, it was all completely fake. That all ended up in court.
Ew.
I know
there
friends
it is. The Lily. That looked.
That invested in that, and then it never came to fruition.
See, I mean,
It was
it's a
supposed
great
to be
video.
waterproof. It was supposed to be all this, that, and the other. Well, part of the footage from this, if I remember rightly, and again, I don't want to get done legally, but my understanding was that part of this footage in this court case, when it came out, was not actually filmed by that drone.
It was a DJI product or another product.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see
that was not a Lily shot, for example.
No.
So that's what I understood was part of it, part of the issue. The other one, though, that was a big mess was the Gopro Karma drone. Do you remember that?
That was so disappointing.
People forget where DJI started from. DJI was not a drone company. DJI is a gimbal company, and it's been a gimbal company for many years and was very successful. And you get really big, Steadicam operators and people like that on movie sets that have a DJI gimbal.
Ronin,
and the Osmo little camera
and
thing.
The Ronin,
and the Ronin.
There's a Ronin right here.
Yep, they're brilliant. But imagine that being big, right? So DJI used to do big gimbaled cameras,
For
like
movies,
proper steady cameras and all that kind of stuff. And then they decided to literally fly a camera. So Phantom 1s were called You're Flying, what was it called? They were called Your Flying Camera or something like that. They weren't called a drone. They were literally selling the fact that they could attach a camera to a gimbal and steadify it and fly it.
Well, I remember buying, I think...
And it evolved from there.
P2. P2, and I had to buy a DJI.
Yeah.
They didn't have it built in,
No.
a gimbal.
Yeah.
It was a DJI product, and I went, this doesn't make sense. I went P2 and then a gimbal.
Yeah.
Then I have to put it in and then attach a GoPro to it. And it was but the Karma was like exciting.
The Karma.
And it's
such a shame.
Such a disappointment, isn't it? Because I love the fact that it was the gimbal stick in the arm.
Yeah.
And I think people are excited because DJI had some competition
For once, but look at the size of it.
That's big.
When they brought out the Mavic, I thought, that's it, DJI, I've killed it. That's it.
Yeah.
Look at the size of this thing. I mean, now when you've got a Mavic Mini, it's 249 grams.
Yeah.
Probably got better camera power on it than that has.
Under a micro.
Yeah.
Is it 250 is a micro?
Yeah.
Considered a micro drone?
So it's legally 249 grams.
Yeah. It's like the batteries.
Yeah.
Putting them on the, when you're traveling with them, it has to be under 100.
You're only allowed to take a certain number as well.
20.
You know, when we were flying around teaching kids in schools, that was really hard work.
Yeah, getting through security is interesting because I find
planes.
that the bigger cities are okay with it because they see more of it. It's the country towns and the regional centres when people are probably starting out in security, in their security career, that they go, we've got a whole bag of 20 LiPo batteries here.
And LiPo bags and
they look like they're smart batteries, aren't they? These days, they're not like they look like a specific battery. But yeah, that was disappointing. The Karma.
Can we find the DJI Mavic advert, the very first one, because this links back to one of the themes we were already talking about. So the DJI Mavic, the brilliant first advert they had, it ends up in Hong Kong Harbour and all that. It's a woman who sat in the office.
Back in the day, first.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe if you put in videos on that, and let's see what videos it comes up with. So it's a woman who sat bored in an office, and then she goes, click on that second one.
You don't see
Let's
everything.
see if it's that one. It might not be. But anyway, the very first video I saw for a DJI Mavic, it's all based around this woman who owns a Mavic, and this is it. And she goes on holiday because she's so bored. She's like,
look at her.
What can I do
Look,
to
she's
make
falling
my life?
asleep.
Oh, this life
This
is
is
so
me in corporate
boring.
life, in my meetings.
Oh, look, what's this now? I have a new lease on life because I've just bought I've just bought a DJI Mavic, therefore I am happy. Look at me in my relaxed clothes and my beautiful daylight and my travel bags.
And I'm about to travel. I'm
look
so
at her. Look,
she looks
and
sprightly.
I'm so thin. Look at my lovely jewellery, and there it goes.
Just pack it
My
in there.
wonderful drone.
There's no case there. She's
Who
putting
needs a
straight in their
case?
bag.
Look how fabulous her hair is. I mean, come on. And then we head off to a beautiful tropical island. And so what's she doing? Oh, she's like, hi, I'm really lost, but look at my cute bag. Look at the cute bag that I have with my drone in it.
They're telling you the
and let's
best
all be
places to
friends
go.
now because I have a drone. You'll be my friend. You're not going to try and rob me. And we're going to have a great time. This is so much fun and so legal because we're wearing helmets.
Yes.
And let's go. Look, I'm going to show you the world in a different way. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Look at this bad boy.
What's
Oh,
this?
yeah.
This is a
Love
Mavic.
it. This was
She's got. Oh, hang on.
hand launched.
Go back there for a second. I found a flaw.
She's not
Scrab
launching
back.
that. She's
Look,
not controlling it.
she's got the gimbal holder on it. When it takes off, ready? 1, 2, 3. There. Look. Pause there.
Is that not that's not a cover?
The cover's on. You know how when you travel, you gimbal
Why
cover.
has she got the cover on?
You got to take it off, otherwise the gimbal overloads. And
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Why has she got the cover on? Oh dear.
Oh, dear.
She's going to break it, isn't
She's
she?
gonna break it.
So go on. So anyway, look at this wonderful, healthy, beautiful life. Look how happy I am. Hi. And look, I'm going to now drive along with a battery on the water, and I'm going to get you to follow me.
And then I'm going
to put it on my Instagram.
I'm going to show it off to everyone and make them feel really pissed off.
And you're all going to hate me. And look, here I am around a heritage site, and I don't know if I'm allowed to fly here or not, but I'm going to take some footage.
Funny you say
Everything is a story.
I nearly got done in Angkor Wat in Cambodia.
Oh, we've had Australians get arrested abroad doing that stuff.
2 weeks before that, a journalist got taken to jail because he flew a drone.
Yeah.
But it was for a protest, so it was a journo.
Yeah.
I looked at all the rules. I went through all the regs and I went around. I didn't go over directly above. I just got this beautiful panoramic shot. I'll try and bring it up if we can, James. Actually, I don't think I posted it on
Have you
Instagram.
posted it in case you're in trouble?
Yeah, Angkor Wat journey. He got done flying a Phantom over protest. So it wasn't so much the drone, it was the fact that he was a journalist and, they didn't want to showcase what was going on, the riots over there.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. And 2 weeks later, I went over there for some charity work and we had a day off and we'll go to Angkor Wat. Beautiful place, massive. And yeah, there's me somewhere. Anyway, did some nice charity work with some kids and beautiful place to fly drones and everything like that. And next thing you know it, I was flying a drone and I got this beautiful shot and I brought it back down. That's obviously not with a drone. And yeah, it was...
Did they take it off you?
Well, they came running over. And the biggest thing for them was whether I had a commercial license or not. So I said I am just a hobbyist, and they were fine about it. It obviously language breakdown and barriers and stuff like that. But yeah, there's it's interesting when you be careful over there. And I was very obviously being in the drone space. There's a bit of drone space here. That's fine. That was okay to fly over.
Stunning.
But yeah, there was. It's funny because you look at the rules and regs and you try and again, you might have overarching, like in Australia, you might have some overarching rules and regulations, and then you get to the local council laws.
Yes.
And that's what gets you, because...
And that's how it's going to be in Europe. Each city is going to be in control of its airspace.
Yeah.
So EASA is now going to do this thing where they don't have a blanket drone rule. You're going to have to go by city rules.
Really?
Yep.
Which makes it...
Very difficult.
Very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. You'll like to think that someone will put together a nice app to
There's
help
Angkor Wat. There's some
everyone
drone space. I don't think
There you
that's
go.
my drone footage, but that's Angkor Wat, a beautiful
Gorgeous.
temple. Yeah. Anyway, so that was a scary
have
moment,
been
because
incredibly
they
scary.
all came over. They were very aggressive. There's some nice stuff here. That's not shot by me, but
No, someone
that's
called
very similar. He's going right over the top
He's
there.
got away with that.
He's
I
got
think
away with
it's
that.
only recently that they've banned it, right? Like you could go and do it like a few years ago.
Yeah, and what's actually happened is to be honest, there's not a lot of signage to say no. You know, normally these places you go, unless otherwise signed, I'll fly. And a lot of these, you know, especially in New Zealand, you have a big sign, do not fly a drone here.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's
No
getting
drone
away there.
zone.
He's really pushing the envelope there. But
But how
beautiful.
beautiful is it? I mean, this is the other thing.
Look at that for a view, though.
Queensland Tourism had a drone competition where people were submitting their footage and they turned it into a beautiful Queensland Tourism advert. I don't know if we can find that on YouTube, but stunning footage. And again, I tell you, Australia is a good-looking country, but it's beautiful from the air.
Well, from a presenting point of view, I go out and I get FOMO, because I'm presenting and I'm not allowed to obviously film while I present. And our cameraman, there's a couple that do the travel shows. They get the drones out, Whitehaven, you know, sort of Lady Elliot. There's some amazing stuff, and some of the footage they use on those TV shows, Weekender and Creek to Coast, is spectacular.
I mean, look at the Whitsun days, that second video there. Let's have a quick look at that, because I mean, if there's anywhere that's going to look fabulous, it's going to be the Whitsun. I mean, look at that. There's the heart coral reef.
Look at this.
That. We are lucky,
That's
aren't we?
what got me.
Whitehaven,
That's what
is
got
it?
me into drones in the first
Well,
place.
the same me. Coral was the first reason I got
There
into
you
corals
go.
and turtles. Was the first reasons I got into them.
There you go. You could look at that footage forever.
It's just gorgeous. It's just beautiful. So you know, this is hopefully when we can all travel again in a year or two's time.
Well, we're lucky in Queensland, aren't you? It's such a
We
big
are.
place, and you know, we've got rainforest, and we've got reef, and we've got beaches, and I think people are starting to realise how lucky we are. And I'm lucky in the sense that I'm travelling, and people are unfollowing me because I'm showing all this stuff off from Queensland, trying to promote. But people that down south are going, "Damn you, Lee!" I'm sick of.
Lost
So you
any
got to be
friends.
careful. You can post a few things, but not.
Don't rub it in.
Don't rub it in. Yeah. So
No, I just feel so sorry for Melbourne under stage 4. It's just psychologically, I feel I'm feeling it. Are you feeling it?
Yeah.
2020, and
It's heavy.
I can't imagine what it's like. I just can't imagine what it's like to be, especially people that live on their own, especially people that might have mental health issues, especially people that are young parents that are struggling. Like, how on earth?
Could you imagine with your two young ones being stuck in a house? Well, you probably are already.
Well, this
but
is what happens when you first have a baby. You do for 6 weeks stay away from everybody. You
Yeah.
barely go out, and you try and well, especially if you've had a C-section, for example, you don't really walk anywhere. You don't really do anything because you're recovering. And so I was thinking, when we had the first lockdown, I was like, for 6 weeks, I was like, everybody's just had a baby. This is what happens when everybody has a baby.
the whole of Australia's had a baby.
Yeah, you just don't go anywhere for
Yep.
6 weeks. You don't do anything for 6 weeks. And I'm like, now people might recognise how isolating it is to be a new parent,
Yeah.
actually. So
Exactly.
I think if you were a new parent during these times, I mean, my second son was born in November, so all he's known are bushfires, floods, and pandemic for his 10 months of life. But yeah, that whole stage of everyone being away from work and at home and sort of forced physically not to do what you would necessarily do as well. I'm like, yeah, that's what it's like when you have a new baby.
Yeah, and you just crave nature, human
Yep.
connection,
Fresh air.
Those basic essentials that I got out on the island. And again, I can't say too much. There we go. There's
Who's this?
just doing a bit of snorkeling up at
That's
up at Hamel
beautiful, is
Hayman.
it? Yeah.
Actually, where was it? Just off.
Who's that?
There we go. Bit of snorkeling. That was a few weeks ago. See,
There we
this is how beautiful.
Is that
Queensland-
you?
Yeah.
I didn't even recognise you.
There you go.
There you go.
There's the grey hair.
Why aren't you
That
wearing a
shows it.
Stinger suit?
I was in there for TV. I was there for 3 or 4 minutes. No, Stinger season. It was Hamilton Island.
Everyone else is totally covered up, Lee.
Their wetsuits.
Okay.
There you go. Had to
There we
come
go.
out and somehow do a piece of camera.
There you go. With
There.
blowing you with kanji out your nose.
There you
and
go.
stuff.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
got so much stuff out of my nose.
Oh,
Anyway.
crumbs. Anyway,
Anyway.
look at that. It looks so refreshing. Oh, I was looking at our pool the other day and in our complex, in our apartment complex, and I was like, I just need it to be a couple of degrees warmer, and then I'm in that pool. Like, pool season is almost upon us. I've not been able to swim since I've not been able to swim since November because of
I've got
having
a
the
pool
baby.
starts next week. I've got a pool coming in, so the boys
beautiful.
are so excited. But I'm bad with cold water. but I have to really egg myself on.
You have to jump. You just have
and
to go
then
in it, don't you?
Then I said, just don't think, just do it, jump in. And even if it's like 19 degrees, I still like, oh, it's too cold.
When it takes your breath.
I'm weak when it comes to that. But then when I go underwater, I try and stay under for 3 or 4 seconds, and I have Tourette's, and I swear like buggery because it's so cold. And I come out and go, how good's that?
Oh, nice.
So that's what I try and do when they go jump in. Even though it's bloody cold, jump in, and I'll go underneath. Swear, and I come out and go, how good's this? Ta-da! That's my little trick of the trade when I present.
Very nice.
Catherine, it's been a pleasure. It's been so much fun. We've spoken a lot about
how long
business.
Have we been going? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It's a good chat, wasn't it?
Joe Rogan style long form podcast, that one. But no, it's been really interesting. Spoke a lot about business, but the world of drones and what you get into. It's fascinating. We could go on forever, but I know you've got 2 young ones that you got to get back to. Or do you have to get back to? Are you just going to say, "Hey, I'm away for the rest of the day," and your amazing husband is going to be?
Have to get back there. The little one is teething, and so he threw a bit of a warmth. He's not quite feverish, but he threw a bit of a fevery type thing this morning. So yes, I need to get back there.
Yes,
he's just yesterday been able to say "mama."
Oh, how good!
So I went to say, so we were having to do various sleeping arrangements, as you do, just trying to get sleep with a toddler and a baby in the house. Anyway, I saw the baby this morning for the first time, and he just looked at me and was like, "Mama," and I was like, "Oh." It's
a beautiful time of your life, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, look, thank you again for taking the time. I know you're a busy lady.
No, thanks for having me.
And
are you going to come to the conference?
Absolutely, yes. I have missed the last. I had some good reasons to the last couple of years because
as long as you're coming for the next one, I don't look backwards.
Like I've been away. I've been on islands and stuff like that.
Kind of locked in places outside of your control.
So good luck with the Congress and also with all the other interesting things, books, you name it.
And we've got to get your script written up, and we've got to get some filming done, get your short science fiction film made.
I got to get some acting classes.
Well, all you need to do is be shot and die.
It doesn't take a lot.
You just need to watch some Bond films to get some inspo for that, maybe.
Oh, done.